I'm making this video for the students who are feeling bored and highly worried about the syllabus, whether it will be completed in time. They are already appeared for the exam of class 11. Now they are going to prepare for class 12, mainly West Bengal board students, but CBSE students also. They are preparing for the upcoming plus 2 exam in 2021. That's why I thought that I must add in something for those students who are thinking that their syllabus will not be completed in time. This is my first class in 2020, and I'm going to start haloalkanes and haloarenes. Every day I shall try my best to cover the few part of the syllabus every day. Preparation of haloalkanes by we can prepare haloalkanes and haloarenes from different types of alkanes and aromatic compounds. First of all, I want to make you understand one thing about organic chemistry is that most of the reactions of this chapter will be repeated to the next chapter. So you must be very much cautious. You must learn organic chemistry in cumulative manner. That means when you are going for the next chapter, that means alcohol, phenols and ethers, you must reminisce the reactions and reagents of this chapter, that means haloalkanes and haloarenes. At least you will have to practice, you must practice some transformations, some ABC that is given in the question paper, or at least you can flip over the pages of the books so that you can be satisfied whether your reagents are in your mind or not. Reagents, you must you must memorize all the reagents. There is no second way to be prepared to prepare the reagents. So the first step by halogenation of alkane. As you know, you are learning from class 10 that halogenation of alkanes are done through in sunlight through free radical mechanism, and the basic reaction is given here: CH4 plus Cl2 to CH3Cl and HCl, and this is a chain reaction. It will be completed when sufficient amount of Cl2 is supplied. It will end up forming carbon tetrachloride. But this is a very simple reaction, and you are learning from your beginning, class 10, beginning of organic chemistry. What I want to note, what I want to mention here, that number of isomers of halogenated compounds of any alkane, it is very important. These type of questions come in NEET, JEE, etc. समझ में आया? ठीक है. That means I want to tell you that one question I can tell you now. Tomorrow I shall prepare some question and give you to solve them in these topics what I am teaching you today. Let me give you an example. Suppose you are asked that how many isomers, including stereoisomers, are possible when monoclonation is done in N-butane, in C4H10. So you'll have to substitute all types of hydrogens, and you'll find the number of isomers. I will discuss this type of questions tomorrow when I will be discussing those only questions. The reactivity of different hydrogen atoms towards halogenation is very important here. 3-degree free radical, as these reactions occurs through free radical mechanism, that's why 3-degree free radical is very 3-degree free radical is highly stable intermediate. That is why 3-degree hydrogen atoms are the most reactive, and 1-degree are the least reactive hydrogen atoms in this case. Chlorination is highly selective than bromination. You can see these two ratios. That means what I want to mention here, that if you chlorinate an alkane that is containing 3-degree, 2-degree and 1-degree hydrogen atoms, then there will be 3 types of products, and the percentage of 3-degree substituted haloalkane will be highest, and lowest in case of 1-degree substituted haloalkane. But in case of bromination, you can see the ratio 3-degree 3-degree bromoalkane. The ratio of 3-degree bromoalkane to 2-degree bromoalkane to 1-degree bromoalkane is 1600:82:1. That means most of the products will be covered by 3-degree bromoalkane. That means can you imagine if 100 gram is the product? If 100 gram is the product, 3-degree bromoalkane is approximately 20 times of the 2-degree bromoalkanes. That means I am assuming that 1-degree bromoalkane is not going to be produced, as its ratio is very less compared to that of 3-degree and 2-degree. If only 2-degree and 3-degree bromoalkane is going to be produced, then can you imagine 20 times? That means if 100 gram is the product, then it will be 4 point something 2-degree, and rest 95 point something will be 3-degree bromoalkane. Okay, that's fine. And reactivity of halogens are in this order. Fluorine is highly reactive and iodine is least reactive. So fluorination will occur at the fastest rate, and iodination is the slowest rate, at the slowest rate. In case of bromination of toluene or chlorination of toluene, you can see these reactions are occurring. Toluene in presence of sunlight forming benzyl bromide when reacting with bromine, and here you can see the next reaction is propene reacting with chlorine in at 200 degree Celsius in gaseous phase. Both are in gaseous phase to form allyl chloride. That means allylic hydrogen is getting replaced by chlorine in this reaction, and this reaction also occurring through free radical mechanism. The intermediate is allyl free radical. I will show you in board tomorrow. Today it is midnight, almost midnight. I am doing this video. I thought that most of the students are calling me that sir, make some video for us, so that we can start our journey for the next year exam. That's why today I am starting this video. Tomorrow I must make a video so to show you the mechanism. Okay, now we are moving to the next page. In case of iodination of methane, some oxidizing agents are used, because HI is a byproduct and it is a reducing agent. It will reduce CH3I, that means methyl iodide, into methane. What will be the function of the oxidizing agent? The oxidizing agent will will oxidize HI into I2 so that it cannot reduce the product. That's all. I don't think. If 2 is highly oxidizing agent, that's why if we want to react alkane with fluorine, then CC bond will break. That's why a different type of reaction will occur in that case. That's why in most of the reactions, most of the books, most of the textbooks even are not covering the reaction of fluorine with other halogens. The reaction of fluorine are kept isolated. Only iodination is endothermic. This is for your kind information. All other halogenation reactions are exothermic. Only iodination is endothermic. All other halogenations are endothermic. Hydrocarbon, hydrocarbon can also be prepared from alkene. I want to tell you that I have started for preparation of haloalkane from alkane. Now it is from alkene. Markovnikov addition, I know that there is some mistake in the spelling of Markovnikov. Different books follow different types of spelling. Markovnikov, I don't know which one is perfect, but I want to tell you that Markovnikov addition and anti-Markovnikov addition we have already learned in class 11. You must go through the pages that has already been done, or go through the books. You must or if you are facing any problem, please let me know. I shall teach you these two very important topic. NBS, reaction of NBS with alkene. This is a very important reaction for different types of competitive exam and also for board exams. Allylic addition occurs through free radical mechanism in presence of little amount of peroxide. When NBS is allowed to react with allylic hydrogen containing compounds, it will replace the allylic hydrogen to bromine for bromination of the allylic hydrogen. Okay, that's fine. Let us follow the mechanism. Okay, I have no board with me now. I cannot show you the mechanism. I shall tell you tomorrow on board. A few minutes ago I told you that bromination, allylic chlorination can be done in by using chlorine at 200 degrees Celsius. Now you are seeing that SO2Cl2, that means sulfuryl chloride, can also be used in presence of benzoyl peroxide at around 200 degrees Celsius to prepare allyl chloride. Next, Finkelstein reaction. This reaction is known as Halley's reaction. This is called as Halley's reaction because it is halogen exchange reaction, and the name of the scientist who discovered this reaction was Hans Finkelstein. That's why this reaction is named as Finkelstein reaction. In this reaction, mainly bromine or chlorine, that means bromoalkane or chloroalkane is converted into iodoalkane. The reaction, the mechanism which is involved in this case is SN2. The solvent is acetone. A little amount of heat is required in this case. When two examples are given, when ethyl bromide and sodium iodide is allowed to react with sodium iodide, it forms ethyl iodide. That means bromine is getting replaced by iodine. That means bromide ion is a leaving group and iodide ion is a incoming nucleophile. In the second case, CH3 CH2Cl. In the second case, you can see that in the second case, chlorine is the Cl minus is the leaving group and I minus is the incoming nucleophile. At the at the extreme left, in between two reactions, you can see that two compounds are written, ETO-COCH2Cl and MECO-CH2Cl. These two compounds are very reactive, highly reactive in this in Finkelstein reaction, they react at a very faster rate, because the CH2, the Cl containing carbon is highly positive in the nucleophile can attack the incoming the nucleophile can attack this carbon efficiently to form the iodide. Let us move to the next reaction, Schwarz reaction. You will see very few reactions where fluoroalkane can be prepared. This is a very rare reaction. These type of reactions are very rare where fluoroalkanes are produced, because I have already told you that the reactivity of fluoroalkanes or fluorine containing compounds are totally different from other halogen containing compounds. That is why these type of reactions are rare. But in Schwarz reaction we can form fluoroalkane from haloalkanes. You can see in the first reaction that ethyl chloride is allowed to react with Hg2F2 and it will form ethyl fluoride, and Hg2Cl2 is the byproduct. In most of the exam it is asked that which of the, in MCQ questions, which of the following is not used in Schwarz reaction or which of the following is used in Schwarz reaction. You can note it down, pause my video and note these compounds down. ASF3 is arsenious fluoride, antimony fluoride, AgF, silver fluoride, Ag2F2, mercurous fluoride, COF2, cobalt fluoride. I want to tell you one more thing, that I am stumbling whenever I am trying to talk. This is a different platform I am talking. That's why this is my first video. This is please apologize. I want to tell you that please forgive me if I am doing any mistake. If you are afraid for facing any problem regarding my speech, okay. And whenever you are watching this video, you must opt for 1.5x speed, because I am a little bit slow. You can save your time, okay. Next, haloalkanes from alcohols. In this reaction you can see that I have written alcohol reacts with HX, that means hydrogen halacids, hydrogen chloride, hydrogen bromide, hydrogen iodide to form haloalkane. This reaction follows two types of paths depending on the alcohol, degree of alcohol present, and the type of HX we are taking. HX we can take in gaseous phase, we can take in aqueous phase. If we are taking it in aqueous phase, then there is no doubt, if the alcohol is 3 degree, then it will follow SN1 path. If it is not in aqueous phase, if it is in gaseous phase, then it will try to follow SN2 path. But one more thing, you will think that alcohol is a protic substrate. Okay, that's fine, but in not in all cases. It is not like alcohol is not like water. It will not be able to form carbocation itself. That's why when 3 degree alcohol is present and aqueous HX is taken, then it will follow SN1 path, otherwise it will follow SN2. But that means I want to mention you that whenever you are using HX aqueous, it will follow, definitely it will follow SN1 path. Two types of similar reactions are present here. One is Lucas reagent, anhydrous ZnCl2 is taken there, and a groups process. In Lucas reagent, anhydrous ZnCl2 and strong aqueous HCl is the reagent, and in Groves process gaseous HCl is a reagent with anhydrous ZnCl2. So in Groves process, when alcohol is 1 degree, then it will follow SN2 path. In Lucas reagent, in case of Lucas reagent, where reagent is NaCl2 and concentrated HCl aqueous, it will try to follow SN1 path when, because aqueous solution is taken, when it is 3 degree it will be faster, when it is 1 degree it will be slower. समझ में आ रहा है? Please take it, please note it down, please. I am repeating, this is a very simple thing, but most of the students make mistake in this case. Let us move to the next. This is a very simplified mechanism I have shown you in my sheet. At the very beginning, whether the HX is aqueous or non-aqueous, that means gaseous, that does not matter. It will form ROH2 plus. OH2 plus is a very good leaving group. Now X minus can attack the alkyl group to liberate H2 through SN2 path, or ROH2 itself can release H2O to form the carbocation, and it will follow SN1 path. Now the X minus ion will attack the carbocation to form alkyl halide, which is desired one. In case of Grove's process, anhydrous, I told you few minutes ago, anhydrous ZnCl to NaCl gas is taken. In that case, SN2 path is followed. You can see SN2 path is followed. Look at this. Alcohol at the beginning, it is reacting with ZnCl to anhydrous, which is acting as a Lewis acid. ZnCl2 is acting as a Lewis acid to form ROH ZnCl, ROH plus ZnCl2 minus, and RCl is the ultimate product following essential of SN2 mechanism. You can put it down, pause my video. This is, write it down, this is very important. You'll have to apply SN1 and SN2 concept very efficiently in all the reactions. Okay, let us move to the next. Now, when HBr reacts with alcohol, 48% concentrated HBr reacts with alcohol in presence of HBr. HBr in presence of H2SO, but H2SO is a catalytic amount of H2SO is required here to initiate, to make the reaction faster, to form CH3CH2Br, ethyl bromide, HI, when refluxed with ethanol, it will form ethyl iodide in a similar fashion. The note is, I written a note, 2 degree or 3 degree alcohols may lead to alkenes sometimes. When you are using the 2 degree or 3 degree alcohol, then it will react with HBr or HI or HCl, whatever you are using, to form ROH2 plus. If the alcohol or alcohol is 2 degree or 3 degree, then the alkyl group is 2 degree or 3 degree. Then the carbocation that is going to be produced is 2 degree or 3 degree. 3 degree carbocation is very stable. 2 degree also relatively less stable, but it is also stable. So they may follow different path. The carbocation, if the carbocation is going to be produced, then there are two options. The nucleophile can attack the carbocation to form the alkyl halide, or the carbocation itself can release a proton to form alkene. That's why it is written that it may lead to alkene if desired condition is provided. Next, three similar type of reactions, but very important reactions. Alcohol reacts with phosphorus pentachloride, phosphorus trichloride, SOCl2, that is not SO2Cl2, please correct it, SOCl2, thionyl chloride. This is SO2Cl2 is written here, it is not SO2Cl2, it will be SOCl2, thionyl chloride, not SO2Cl2. In all these cases, all these three reactions, RCl is the product, main product. In case of PCl5, HCl, gaseous HCl and aqueous POCl3 are the byproducts. In case of PCl3, is aqueous phosphorus acid is byproduct, And in case of SOCl2, ionyl chloride, when used, SO2 and HCl both are gaseous byproduct. So if you want to produce RCl from ROH, SOCl2 will be the first preference. Okay, because byproducts are gaseous, it will be very easy to isolate RCl from the mixture. The mechanism is given here, you can write it down. Okay, let us move to the next reaction. Mechanism of reaction of alcohol with SOCl2. A little bit difficult. This reaction follows SNI path. There is retention of configuration. Retention spelling is, it is a wrong spelling. RETENTION. It should be RETENTION. Okay. SNI mechanism is followed here. You can see alcohol attacks sulfur of SOCl2 to form this type of addition compound. Then simultaneously proton is liberated and Cl is attacking R, and RO bond is broken to form SO2 and HCl. In this reaction, you can keep it in your mind that no change in configuration occurs. R-type compound, R-type alcohol, if the alcohol is containing any chiral carbon and it is R, then the product will also be R. And if alcohol is S, then the product will also be S. But the most interesting fact in this case is that if you are using a little amount of pyridine with SOCl2 in this same reaction, then the reaction will follow SN2 path, and inversion is the main product. You know that in SN2 reaction inversion occurs. Only inversion occurs. Only inversion occurs. If you are using pyridine with SOCl2, a little amount of pyridine will change the mechanism of will change the path of the reaction to form a different compound with different configuration. Okay, you can write down the mechanism. The mechanism is incomplete, but you can see what is going to happen in the next step. This is the last step. Okay, let us move to the next reaction, Hans-Digger reaction. This reaction is a very popular reaction. This is also a very popular reaction. Silver carboxylate, silver salt of any carboxylic acid, reacts with bromine in carbon tetrachloride medium to form RBr. The reaction most probably is written. No, it is not written. Okay, please write it down. I am telling you. RCAAG, silver carboxylate, reacts with bromine Br2 in CCl4 medium to form RBr. Bromoalkane. The mechanism: RCAAG reacts with bromine. Ag plus has greater affinity towards Br or Cl or I. That is why it will be precipitated as AgBr, and RCAABr will be formed. But in this reaction, in this compound, you can see that three types of bonds are present: RC bond, C double bond O, CO, and OBr bond. OBr bond is the weakest bond among all these three compounds, all these three types of bonds. So OBr bond will be broken to form free radicals, RC double O dot, and you can see that CO2 is very self-fits. It will accumulate one more pair of electrons to form CO2, and R dot will be the product. Now what is happening? R dot is highly reactive. It will react with RCAABr that is formed in the first step here with R dot to form RBr, and RC double dot is the byproduct, and the reaction will follow the same path again and again and again to form RBR. So what I want to say that there will a question may arise in your mind that R dot could have combined with R dot to form RR, maybe, but in this reaction, if you can think from the thermodynamic point of view that the energy required for this type, as RBR is the product, that means the energy is supporting this path to form RBR. You'll have to think this matter psychologically, that the energy requirement is not same. It may happen that alkane is a byproduct, I don't know, but main product is RBR. You can also think that R dot could have reacted with RC double O dot that is left after forming R dot, that is to some extent is also left in the reaction mixture. So RC double O R is, that means ester may also be the product. You can combine these R dot and RC double O dot, R dot and RC double O dot to form ester. But this type of reaction happens in whenever you are using iodine, not in case of not in case of bromine, as is told in different books and with evidences that whenever you are using iodine in this type of reaction, ester is the main product, and that reaction is known as Birnbaum-Simonini reaction, BIRN Birnbaum-Simonini reaction. Okay, and in case of Hans-Dicker reaction, you can see that the number of carbon compared to that of the substrate is decreasing. That means here the main compound is containing R and a carbon, an extra carbon, and here only R. That means this reaction is producing a compound having one less carbon, one carbon smaller than the substrate. Okay, that's all today. Practice it again and again. I'll make a video tomorrow about on the different types of application of these type of reactions. Questions, problems that may arise in your mind. Okay, thank you. Share this type of video with your friends who you are thinking that it will be beneficial for them. Thank you very much.